With the absolute massive success of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, it can only be expected that there would be a ton of fan opinions circulating on the internet. I'm Kyle with Wicked Binge, and these are Super Mario Movie fan opinions we love and hate. Real quick before we start, consider this your obligatory spoiler warning. With that said, let's get into these fan opinions. The first opinion is that the movie is nothing more than a frantic dash for Easter eggs. This is a criticism levied by quite a few reviewers, including The Guardian. The idea here is that despite all the fun references to past projects from Nintendo like the Punch-Out Pizzeria, or characters like King Bob-omb and King Boo popping up, the movie sacrifices everything else. Now, let's be clear, the film, like a lot of Illumination movies, is built to be enjoyed by kids.
Look at us, we're adorable!
But also, it's already established fan base of Nintendo fans of all ages. And these Easter eggs have been a ton of fun for anyone who's been a fan of Mario, regardless if they were a gamer in the 90s or today. And frankly, these Easter eggs don't detract from the great world Illumination has built, nor the story or characters they've fleshed out. So we have to say, yes, we do hate this opinion, because it sounds like the reviewer maybe didn't catch all of the Easter eggs, or just forgot that Illumination was attempting to make a film for Nintendo fans. Moving on to the next opinion, bland, witless, and flagrantly pandering. This is a quote from the New York Times review, and it's the overall message of the article. As the quote illustrates, the opinion is that the whole film is bland, witless, and pandering. And you guessed it, the reason the article lists it as pandering is because of all the Easter eggs and references in the film.
He is cute, but he is...
We think this review sucks because while it meets the dictionary definition of pandering, the connotation of the word implies negativity, and we believe that these Easter eggs are just not a negative thing. Again, I don't understand why people take issues with these references, they're just a ton of fun. And calling the movie witless is just goofy and pretentious. It's a lighthearted movie designed for kids and those who want to embrace nostalgia a bit, and the characters have a tremendous amount of heart. It kind of brings to mind how much critics seem to hate children's films if they're not deep existential films like The Iron Giant, or movies that shift the animation genre as a whole like Into the Spider-Verse. The Super Mario Bros. Movie may not be the animated movie of the century if you're not a huge Nintendo nerd, but it is a fun adventure that's action-packed, funny, and filled with nostalgia that maybe could have been a bit more fleshed out. So we have to say, we hate this take. Like, get over yourself, New York Times. Speaking of which, another opinion from the New York Times is there was no reason for the go-karts. I think maybe in their defense, this kind of illustrates the difference between Mario fans and non-Mario fans, because the Rainbow Road sequence is such a cool part of the movie. Yeah, maybe it panders a bit, but again, not in a bad way. And sure, there are some people like the New Rockstars YouTube channel who point out that maybe having the Jungle Kingdom feature the more classic riding animals from the Donkey Kong franchise might have been a better choice that made more sense. And that is actually a great point. That said, the use of the go-karts from Mario Kart is such a fun reference, and with a character like Funky Kong existing in the universe, the go-karts are still a good idea. So once again, unfortunately, we have to say we hate this opinion, and it just seems like the New York Times doesn't want to have any fun. But we'll leave them alone for now, as the next opinion is that it's a fun but safe romp, from Engadget.com's review of the film. They bring up a lot of things, but the overall point of the article is that the film is a fun film, but it's very safe, and that's definitely true. The film's a lot of fun, has great moments, and it's very well done for the most part, but it is a very safe film, and it kind of revels in tropes and ideas that have been done a million times. However, despite the safety of the movie, it doesn't fall into every trope it could. It lacks a lot of potty humor that Illumination is known for, and with the brothers being plumbers, it would have been easy for them to incorporate it, which we're glad they didn't. And it also doesn't fall into the liar revealed or opening narration trope like a lot of children's films do. In fact, we think that because they kept the film so safe, it made the movie better in the long run, and it may even allow it to take some more creative risks with a sequel. So we have to say that we love this review, because what they say makes a lot of sense. Also from Engadget.com is that it's stunningly animated. This again comes from the same review, and it's an interesting take to talk about because while the film is very well animated, it still looks like a lot of other CG animated films from the past couple of years. Its style certainly isn't copy and paste.
Not at all!
But it's also not super unique like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish or Into the Spider-Verse. There are few, if any, major goofs in the animation, and most, if not all scenes, are really well done, with backgrounds and characters having lovable but iconic designs. The world is just super charming and super polished, all thanks to the animation. So we do love this opinion. The last take we'll take from Engadget.com is the musical choices could have been more unique. Now, the Super Mario movie is a weird beast because it has three distinct types of music throughout the film. There is the classic usage of popular songs in certain places, like Holding Out for a Hero during one of the montages, or Blue Sky later on in the film. Then there is the very, very long list of video game music used in the soundtrack from small little stingers, such as the underground theme when they get into the sewers, and the underwater theme when the Cheep Cheep Death glares Mario. Then of course you have the bigger, more obvious ones like the DK rap when Donkey Kong first appears, or the Superstar theme when the Mario Brothers use the power of said superstar. Then finally we have the original music composed for the soundtrack, and while there was only one fully original number with Peaches by Jack Black, there is plenty of background music that is original. Now, in our opinion, the video game music was integrated perfectly, and Jack Black's Peaches song was a masterpiece. But the popular music that wasn't made specifically for the film that was utilized in the movie really points out the safety that we talked about earlier, because a lot of these types of music choices, such as Holding Out for a Hero, really made the montage very, very generic. Granted, it could have been worse, but in our opinion, it would have been better to scrap them and throw in a couple more original songs. So we have to say that we love this opinion. On to our final direct quote, we have, quote, "This movie is as bad as the original," from the Guardians review, which we found through IMDb. For those out of the loop, this is referring to the Super Mario Bros. Movie from 1993. This movie was one of the very first attempts to adapt a video game into a movie format, and it is without a doubt horrible. I mean, some people really like it, but it falls into that category of something that's so bad that it's kind of good, ironically.
Where's my pizza?
That movie cherry picks a handful of things from the games and then just does all of them severely worse. They get the character relationships wrong, Goombas and Yoshi are depicted terribly, Bowser's played by Dennis Hopper, and he turns into a dinosaur for like the last 3 seconds of the film. It's a very weird experience. Now, if you've never seen the original, you might assume we're overreacting. However, calling this new film anything near the level of terrible really just feels like the person who came up with this take is just trolling everyone. So we have to say, obviously, we despise this take. Jumping into the world of predictions now, we have Pedro Pascal as Wario. So Pedro Pascal has made his presence highly known lately, playing the main character in multiple major projects, including The Mandalorian, and more recently as Joel Miller in The Last of Us TV series. This means he's been fan-casted in plenty of projects, but this particular casting comes very specifically from Jack Black himself, the man voicing Bowser. How serious Jack Black is can be hard to tell, but it does have the internet abuzz. Now, in our opinion, it's certainly not a bad idea, but we're still holding out for Danny DeVito.
Mario.
But there are plenty of directions you could go with the casting for a character like Wario. And given the fact that just about everybody did a great job with the voices in this first Mario movie, we're very open-minded. So we'll just say we have mixed feelings on this one. But real quick before we get to our next entries, if you're enjoying this video and you want to do us a huge favor, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. We ask because we'd really appreciate the help in getting to our next milestone, and we have a ton more content in the works that we can't wait to share with you. The final take we'll be talking about is fans versus critics. Mainly that the audience score is more important than the critics one. In the world of movie reviewing, it's hard to determine who you should listen to when it comes to gauging your interest in a film. Fans of the project, especially if it's based on something like a comic book or a video game, might be more likely to either love or hate a film based on something they're already a fan of. It's kind of a double-edged sword. This leads to places like Rotten Tomatoes, a place that collects masses of both critical and fan reviews, and gives an overall score. This situation is very clear when it comes to the Super Mario movie, leaving it with a score just barely higher than 50%. Meanwhile, fans really love it, with a tomato meter landing in the mid to high 90s. This has happened before. Other big films like Venom were subject to a lot of ridicule from critics, but was widely loved by fans, including the writer. Sometimes, however, it's very much the other way, where a movie with lots of positive critic reviews ends up being ripped apart by audiences, like with Sausage Party. Now, as fans of the Mario franchise, we really really enjoyed the film, and we side with the audience. But on top of that, there does seem to be a growing disconnect, it seems, between fans and critics when it comes to reviews of not only movies, but also video games, cartoons, and TV shows. So we have to say that we like this opinion, because generally we feel the audience score is a far better gauge for a movie's quality. But let us know in the comments section if you agree, and tell us about your opinions about the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Make sure to hit that notification bell and binge our other Mario movie videos. But most importantly, stay wicked.